Hello again, my friends, and welcome back. It is wonderful to see you today. Today, I'm going to read you one of the lesser-known tales written by the legendary author Hans Christian Andersen. There are several stories Hans is very well known for, and it will be my pleasure to bring those to you in due time. But today, we will be reading one of his lesser-known tales, The Evil Prince. So settle in and relax. Stay a while and listen. There was once an evil and overbearing prince whose only thought was to conquer all the lands of the world and strike terror with his name. He fared forth with fire and sword. His soldiers trampled down the grain in the field. They set fire to the farmer's house and saw the red flame lick the leaves of the trees and the fruit hang scorched on the black charred branches. Many a poor mother hid with her naked nursing babe behind the smoking wall, and the soldiers hunted for her, and if they found her and the child, their fiendish pleasures began. Evil spirits could not have behaved worse, but the prince thought that this was just as it should be. Day by day his power grew, his name was feared by everyone, and success followed him in all his deeds. From the conquered cities he took gold and great treasures. In his royal residence were amassed riches, the likes of which was nowhere to be found. Now he had erected magnificent castles, churches, and arches, and everyone who saw these splendors said, "What a great prince!" They did not think of the misery he had brought upon other lands. They did not hear the sighs and wails that went up from the scorched cities. The prince looked at his gold, looked at his magnificent buildings, and thought as the mob, "What a great prince! But I must have more, much more. No power must be mentioned as equal to mine, much less greater." And he went to war against all his neighbors and conquered them all. He had the vanquished kings fettered to his carriage with gold chains as he drove through the streets, and when he sat down at the table, they had to lie at his feet and at the feet of his courtiers, and take the pieces of bread that were thrown to them. Now the prince had his statue erected in the squares in the royal palace. Yes, he even wanted it to stand in the churches before the altar of the Lord. But the priests said, "Prince, you are mighty, but God is mightier. We dare not do it." "Well," said the evil prince, "then I am going to conquer God too." And with overweening pride and folly in his heart, he had a remarkable ship built that he could fly through the air with. It was as brilliantly colored as the tail of a peacock, and appeared to be encrusted with 1,000 eyes. But each eye was the barrel of a gun. The prince sat in the middle of the ship. He had only to push a spring and 1,000 bullets flew out, and the guns were again loaded as before. 100 strong eagles were attached to the front of the ship, and in this fashion he flew up toward the sun. The earth lay far below at first, with its mountains and forests. It resembled a plowed-up field where the green peeps forth from the overturned turf, and then it looked like a flat map. Soon it was quite hidden in the fog and clouds. Higher and higher flew the eagles. Then God dispatched a single one of his myriads of angels, and the evil prince let fly 1,000 bullets at him. But the bullets fell off the angel's shining wings like hail. A drop of blood, only a single one, dripped from the wing feather, and this drop fell on the ship in which the prince was sitting. It burned itself fast. It was as heavy as 1,000 hundredweights of lead and swept the ship down towards the earth at a breakneck speed. The strong wings of the eagles were broken. The wind rushed all around the prince's head, and the clouds that were all around, after all they were all from the burned cities, took on threatening shapes, like mile-long crayfish that stretched out their long claws after him, like rolling boulders or fire-spouting dragons. Half dead, he lay in the ship, which was caught at last among the thick branches of the forest. "I will vanquish God," he said. "I have sworn it. My will shall be done." And for 7 years he had remarkable ships constructed that would fly through the air, He had thunderbolts forged from the hardest steel, because he wanted to blow up the fortress of heaven. From all his lands he gathered a great army, which covered a radius of several miles when the men stood lined up. They climbed into the remarkable ships. The prince himself was approaching his when God sent out a swarm of mosquitoes, a little swarm of mosquitoes. They buzzed around the prince and bit him on the face and hands. In a rage he drew his sword but struck out at the empty air. He couldn't touch the mosquitoes. Then he ordered costly carpets to be brought. They were to be wrapped around him. No mosquito could penetrate them with its sting. And this was done as he ordered. But a single mosquito was sitting on the innermost carpet. It crawled into the prince's ear and bit him there. It seared like fire. The poison surged up to his brain. He tore himself loose, yanked off the carpets, ripped his clothes to shreds, and danced naked in front of the brutal, barbarous soldiers that were now mocking the mad prince, who wanted to pester God, and was vanquished by a single little mosquito.
Thank you, my friends, for joining me for our story today. Your time is very precious to me. If you enjoyed our story, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on notifications, and share our little get-togethers with your friends. All of these things are incredibly helpful to get our stories out to more friends. I had such a wonderful time with you all today, and I hope you'll join me again tomorrow, where I will read a new tale and invite you once again to stay a while and listen.